Have you ever wondered about the fate of our planet and the solar system itself? Well, it might interest you to know that the solar system will be destroyed by the one thing that holds it together, the sun. But when and how will this all happen? And will Earth survive the inevitable expansion of the sun? Or will it be swallowed up by its enormous host star? Join us in today's video as we uncover a new study that reveals when the sun will eat Mercury, Venus, and Earth. In the grand scheme of the universe, our sun, just like all stars, has a limited lifespan. Currently just over 4.6 billion years old, our sun is in the mid-stages of its life and is regarded as a main sequence star. It burns hydrogen fuel into its helium core, which creates the energy and light that sustains life on Earth. However, as the sun gets older, it will ultimately run out of hydrogen, and when this happens, it will undergo a drastic transformation. Once its hydrogen is depleted, the sun's core will begin to contract under the pressure of its own gravity, causing its outer layers to expand until it becomes what is known as a red giant star. This next phase will occur over the course of the next 4 to 7 billion years, as the sun will continue to expand in size, reaching a diameter that will extend well beyond the orbits of Mercury, past Venus, and eventually surpassing Earth's current orbit. Scientists have observed other stars become red giants as well, engulfing nearby planets in the process, with one notable mention being a red giant designated BD plus 48740. This star orbits some 2,000 light-years away from Earth and is approximately 1.6 times the mass of the Sun. A study into the star's atmosphere revealed that it had abnormally high levels of lithium, a rare metal that is only found on rocky planets. This suggests that BD 740 had recently expanded to such levels that it swallowed a nearby planet, heating the engulfed planet till it released its lithium deposits into the star's surface. This is the inevitable fate of Mercury and Venus, and maybe even Earth. With current projections, the sun will swell up to the orbit of Mercury in about 6 billion years, engulfing the already hot planet and eviscerating its entire mass in a few thousand years. A few million years after that, the expanding sun will reach the orbit of Venus, stripping away its sulfuric atmosphere before engulfing the planet itself and turning the rocky planet into a pile of planetary ash, the fate of Earth. As the sun eventually expands beyond the orbits of Mercury and Venus, it will almost inevitably reach Earth's orbit, engulfing our blue planet into its uber mass. However, there have been discussions within the scientific community on the possibility of Earth escaping the sun's wrath either by chance or design. Although scientists agree on the inevitable expansion of the sun, they have different opinions on Earth's ultimate fate. Some studies indicate that Earth might be able to escape the sun's grasp because as the sun grows into its red giant phase, it loses mass, which in turn reduces its gravitational hold on the planets in the solar system. This reduction in the sun's gravity will cause the planets to spiral outwards, moving ever so slowly away from the swelling star. The sun is projected to expand to its maximum radius at a distance of about 1.2 astronomical units, which is a little past Earth's current orbit. At its maximum radius in its red giant phase, the sun will have lost about 1/3 of its current mass. But the question remains, will the speed at which Earth moves away from the expanding sun be enough to outrun its fiery grasp? Or will the sun's expansion rate overtake our planet before it reaches a safe distance? Several factors need to be considered to determine this. Physicist Lorenzo Lorio of the National Institute of Nuclear Physics in Italy calculated the projected interaction between the sun and the Earth as it becomes a red giant, putting forth a likely scenario that Earth will not outrun the expanding sun. Lorio stated that assuming the sun's yearly mass loss remains relatively constant in its evolution into a red giant, he estimates that Earth will only move outward at a rate of 3 millimeters a year. This means our planet will only move about 0.0002 astronomical units by the sun's red giant phase, with the sun expanding 1 million times faster. covering 1 astronomical unit in just a few million years. This means Earth will not outrun the Sun and may ultimately be vaporized and engulfed by the Sun. While most models of the Sun's expansion have it that our planet won't be swallowed up for another 4 to 6 billion years, Earth may very well lose its ability to sustain life long before then. Long before the Sun depletes the hydrogen in its core, it will gradually increase in brightness and hotness, which it has been doing since its creation. The Sun currently increases its brightness by 10% every billion years. This means an equivalent increase in the amount of heat and solar radiation that blows into the solar system. While a 10% increase in the Sun's brightness might not sound like much, it will have severe catastrophic effects on our planet. This increase in the degree of heat from the Sun will push the habitable zone of the solar system beyond Earth's orbit, as this region will become significantly hotter. With Earth no longer in the habitable zone, ice caps will melt, and liquid water in our oceans and lakes will begin to evaporate. This will lead to a devastating greenhouse gas effect, as more water will be present in the atmosphere, trapping heat and drastically raising the planet's surface temperatures. This will trigger a runaway greenhouse gas effect, the likes of which turned Venus into the hot, uninhabitable planet it is today. It is believed that Venus also had an atmosphere at some point in its past, but as the Sun continued to increase in brightness, the heat devastated the planet's atmosphere, trapping toxic levels of greenhouse gas on its surface and effectively turning it into the rocky inferno it is today. Estimations of exactly when and how fast this process of the Sun's increased luminosity will happen aren't certain. Some scientists state that it won't happen for well over 1 billion years, while others disagree. Some physicists have stated that Earth will be practically inhabitable to both plant and human life before the billion-year mark. This is because the effect of the increased heat from the Sun rocks and plate tectonics on Earth will dry out the oceans, ridding the planet of water and life much faster. Other opinions within the scientific community have it that life may be able to adapt and survive a hotter planet for longer than 1 billion years. One thing remains almost certain. Life on Earth has about 1 billion years to thrive and survive before our planet becomes fully transformed into the next Venus. And as the Sun enters its red giant phase in some 4 to 6 billion years, it will be 40% brighter than it is today, with Earth being just another rocky planet devoid of life. But there's a bit of good news. In comparison to human existence, which has only been around for a few thousand years, 1 billion years is a really long time. Looking at all we've accomplished in the last few decades alone, scientists believe humanity, if it still exists by then, will have become an interplanetary civilization, and as such made a new home, or at least outposts on other exoplanets. This is all assuming humanity still exists by then, and some cataclysmic event like an asteroid hasn't impacted and wiped us clean from the face of the Earth. Fingers crossed. While the question of if and when Earth will become uninhabitable is still up for debate. The Sun's transformation to a red giant is a cosmic certainty that will ultimately happen. While the Sun continues to grow and possibly engulf our planet in its wake, it will keep expanding, even after swallowing up Earth or whatever is left of it. In about 7.5 billion years, when the Sun becomes a full-fledged red giant, it will reach a maximum size of over 256 times its current size. The new size and energy of the Sun will push the habitable zone from its current position to further out into the solar system, stretching from 49 to 71 astronomical units, which is already well into the Kuiper Belt. So while Earth may be gone, there still begs the question: will planets like Saturn and Jupiter residing in the new habitable zone become habitable themselves? Well, the answer isn't as straightforward as we might think. The fate of other planets. With Saturn and Jupiter now occupying the new habitable zone of the solar system with a red giant host star, their atmospheres will see drastic changes, and not entirely for the better. The gaseous atmosphere of these gas giant planets will slowly but surely erode from the increased proximity to the Sun and heightened levels of solar wind reaching their surfaces. However, although this is expected, it might not be the case. Astronomers have observed several gas giant exoplanets orbiting close to their red giant stars. Somehow, these hot Jupiters, as they are called, have managed to retain their gaseous atmospheres, and in some cases have even had abnormal increases in the puffy nature of the atmosphere as a result of the star's intense radiation. This has led scientists to suggest that the fate of Jupiter and Saturn remain uncertain when our Sun becomes a red giant. New habitable worlds. While Saturn and Jupiter may never be candidates for habitable planets, Saturn's moon Titan will be a prime candidate now within the new habitable zone of a red giant solar system. Titan remains the only known satellite within the solar system with a significant atmosphere. Simulations into the possibility have indicated that Titan may enjoy a few 100 million years of habitable conditions similar to early Earth conditions. There would be liquid oceans of ammonia, and something of an ecosystem could potentially form within that period. Neptune's moon Triton, as well as Pluto, would also become valuable assets for potentially habitable planets with temperatures now comparable to tropical regions on Earth today. These rocky planets and satellites might serve as alternatives for humanity, as our planets may no longer exist at that time. So what do you think? Will Earth survive the impending inferno that is the Sun, or will we have to look to the stars for a new home? Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell. Let's spread the wonder of the universe together.